INEOS hired Ruben Amorim mid-season, then sacked him 14 months later, mid-season. They have failed with multiple major decisions, and now Amorim is gone. They don't have anywhere to hide, really. I want to discuss INEOS in this video, Ratcliffe, Wilcox, Berrada, their failures, and what's next, because I'll tell you what, man, I'm fucking bored of the turmoil of this club, man. Exhausted even, if I'm being honest. Really is sickening that we're sort of in this position again, we're having this conversation again. Man United fans will forever lament our leadership and our ownership until they start making decisions that prove to be correct. And until that point, we will point out their failures. That won't change. I'm going to run through everything in this video. You can let me know what you think in the comments. Yeah. It was supposed to be different. Having a football structure, having a sporting director, having a CEO, some actual football experience. It's turned out not really. And Jim Ratcliffe, okay? Stop meddling. It seems like such an obvious thing to say. It's the main thing. How much has Berrada and Wilcox actually been in charge of decisions? We don't really know, because you got to look upwards and say, oh, what does Jim think? Because when it comes to Man United's major decisions, like I could run in, and I will, by the way, I'm going to do quite an in-depth review of pretty much everything that Ratcliffe has done so far and everything that Ratcliffe has said so far and all the things he's done on the pitch and off the pitch. But from a footballing perspective, there are three major failures and three major decisions that Ratcliffe was involved in. Ashworth was brought in, clashed with Ratcliffe, clashed over decisions and choices that ultimately Ashworth was proved correct with, sacked. Ten Hag. Now, to be fair, I made the same mistake in thinking that Ten Hag should have stayed after the FA Cup final, but I'm not Manchester United's co-owner, CEO, or sporting director. Ten Hag stayed on, was given a new contract, was sacked 3 months later. Amorim was brought in. 14 months later, he was sacked, after Ratcliffe said he needs at least 3 years. They clashed. Again, I honestly don't feel... I know that Amorim's results ultimately were the core of the frustration, but it wasn't the results that tipped it over the edge. I think if Amorim didn't fall out in the way that he did after Leeds, I think Amorim would have been kept on to the end of the season, which opens up a whole different thing. But now we're back in a situation where we're talking about will Solskjaer or Carrick take over as United caretaker manager until the end of the season, circa 2018-19, whenever it was that he took over from Mourinho. This is a repeated conversation. And Ratcliffe has been at the centre of all of it, hence why protests are going to be happening. Just the decision-making has been inept. Leadership is supposed to be something that inspires you, something that leads you. It's in the name. Somebody who makes the decisions. They might be tough decisions. And look, some of the cost-cutting at United, sure, and that's made United better as a bottom line in terms of a business, but I can't give INEOS any compliments right now because from a footballing perspective, there's been a spectacular amount of failures. So I mean, this is not the leadership that United need. We need leadership that makes the hard calls that prove to be correct, not makes the decisions that 12, 14 months down the line, you're looking back on going, was that the right thing? No, ultimately that was the wrong thing. And then past Ratcliffe, you've got Wilcox and you've got Berrada. With Wilcox, he's correctly under fire too. I think I've got more scorn towards Ratcliffe than I do towards Wilcox. Currently, I'm just telling you my own personal opinion here. I wonder how much Ratcliffe's meddling has been involved in the decision-making process that's existed at our football club. I wonder how much our actual football director has been directing the football. That's probably my main concern going on in my mind. As for Wilcox himself, he voiced concerns about Amorim at the beginning. And he said himself that he almost feels like he wants to manage. Is he overstepping the mark as football director? Is there a fine line that has to be walked that maybe he hasn't walked? In terms of the decisions that he's been making, He's not been good enough. Ratcliffe's not been good enough. Berrada was the man who wanted to bring Ruben Amorim in. And look, of course I got on board with it, right? Why wouldn't you? As a United fan, get on board when a new manager comes in. Why wouldn't you look at what he's done at Sporting and hope and think that he's going to be able to replicate that, because he's now got the leadership team behind him. He's got the support network at the football club that we haven't had before, and things should be different. Things will feel different. But things don't feel different at all. It may as well be Ed Woodward there. That's what it feels like. That it feels like the mistakes that we saw under previous owners and the ownership structure and the football structure at our football club, despite being completely changed, it feels like those mistakes are still happening. Hence why we're speaking about Berrada. Hence why we're speaking about Wilcox. And from Berrada's perspective, he's probably helped on the business side of things. But how many of these decisions are Berrada's to make? Again, I'm going to keep going back to it. Like, this was from The Athletic. Now, I think it's from Mark Critchley, saying that Ratcliffe must own INEOS' errors with Ruben Amorim and fix the mess. I'll agree with this banner. Fixing this has nothing to do with Jim Ratcliffe personally. Okay, but that's probably the wrong way to phrase it. It has everything to do with him empowering others, but it has nothing to do with him actually being the person that leads that. Ratcliffe has meddled way too much. Whether it's going in and telling masseurs what his post-marathon stretching session was because, I've run a marathon, so I know how you do it at a Premier League football club. Whether it's him getting involved with Ashworth and clashing with him over redundancies. Whether it's him getting involved and telling Ruben Amorim to play 4 at the back. Whether it's him getting involved on a whole host of things. He's overstepped the mark massively and hasn't empowered his CEO and his sporting director to do their jobs. And even when they have done their jobs, the questions and the decisions that they've chosen, the choices that they've made, haven't exactly worked out. So it isn't a case of, you just sack them all and start it all again. I wouldn't even know where to bloody look. That's not what I'm saying right now. What I am saying, this is not the leadership that Manchester United need. It goes back towards the Glazers. Of course it does. Just this whole clusterfuck of a situation. Until somebody has majority control that isn't the Glazers, we'll always be going round in circles in that sense and pussyfooting around the actual problem. Ratcliffe's not followed through on hardly anything that he said he would at the start. Wilcox, one thing I really would say about Wilcox and just the sporting director in general, I'm not saying that I want to see Jason Wilcox face the press in the same way that Ruben Amorim or a manager would. But come out and speak a bit more. Don't lurk in the shadows. Like, we heard about the better communication. I know it's not the German football model, but I'd like to see an interview or two with Jason Wilcox, and not just with the inside Carrington, which is a very safe environment. I mean, with the press. Face up to it. Everyone has to face up to it now because they've sacked Ruben Amorim and they've got nobody left to hide behind. The leadership is failing at this football club. The previous leadership was failing at this football club. And until leadership isn't failing at this football club will fail.